name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin on Rugby preview show. Joining me today to look ahead to Saturday's big match at HQ is someone back for their third preview in a row, and overall Harpin pod number 34. Welcome to Mr. Neil Keego. Keegan.
How are we? We are all very excited here at my house for the weekend coming up.
Absolutely. Loads to look forward to indeed. Right. Well, we do try to keep these preview pods brief, normally about 15 minutes or so, or to put that another way, that's two and a half, maybe British prime ministers. But just before we start, Keego, just any quick thoughts on the Irish squad for November?
Delighted. Obviously, injuries aside, similar to what we talk about every week in terms of how the Leinster guys put the teams together. I love the selection. It's a great mix. I think it's 6 uncapped players. We may get a couple more coming in. Delighted. Really, really strong. Really happy with it. And then we've still got those injured guys to come back to. So, yeah, fair play. Saluted to everybody.
Okay, so we're going to move on to this week's feature match. It is, of course, Leinster v Munster in round 6 of the 22-23 BKT United Rugby Championship. It's taking place at Aviva Stadium on Saturday, October the 22nd, kicking off at 5:15 p.m., being shown on TV, RTE2, Premier Sports 1, Super Sport, Discovery Channel, and, of course, URC.tv, where you'll get all this season's matches for just $6.99 a month. Leinster named their matchday squad at lunchtime on Friday, so why don't we crack on at Harpin on it, starting with the back line, which should be showed up here now. 15, Kieran Frawley, 14, Jimmy O'Brien, 13, Gary Ringrose, 12, Robbie Henshaw, 11, Jamie Osborne, 10, Johnny Sexton, who's the captain, and 9, Luke McGrath.
Look, we keep saying it, but what can you say? You look at Frawley back on the pitch, much like Sheehan. Anytime he is fit, he gets on. He's on that run of form. Jimmy O'Brien is being rewarded. Big game for him, sitting out there on the wing. I think has he played centre and wing, full back so far this year? So you know what I mean? He's putting that Batman utility belt on him, and it's fantastic. And then you look at Henshaw. We've talked about his run of form. I think it's gone on 9 years now. Jamie Osborne's going to be great as well. I think, we keep saying it. They're putting together these teams that are frightening the opposition. And then when we get to the business end of the season, we've had big games. Like we've already played one of the South African teams. We're going to be playing them again. And then these guys have the Interpro. These guys are in a game where the target is on the back, regardless of form. Even though we're going to talk about form, there is a target on their back. They're going to see these guys as weak links. You look at Jimmy O'Brien, relatively inexperienced. Frawley, slightly out of position if you think of him as a 10. Osborne is a relative newbie as well. They're going to take aim at them. But if you look at what they're up against, skill for skill, boot for boot, you pick them. Yep.
I mean, when you look at what else they can bring to their starting positions as well. I mean, we know what Henshaw and Ringrose can do in the center, especially defensively, and of course, what McGrath and Sexton can do at halfback. But the other three, Osborne's got the big left boot on him. That'd be great for clearances and all that stuff. And he's played a lot of center as well, so be interesting to see him out on the wing. Jimmy O'Brien just brings creativity as well. He can put little kicks over the top, but of course we've seen Ringrose and Henshaw do that recently as well. And Frawley at 15 is fascinating. We talked about him. They're grooming him as a 10. They wanted him on that Emerging Ireland tour apparently, and but now they're putting him at 15. Makes you wonder what's happening to Hugo Keenan. Is he okay? Are they maybe looking at other options for November? What's going on there? But it's an intriguing backline with players moving around different positions, but it still all comes together. It's a very interesting backline. Okay, listen, we're going to move on to the forwards now, and in the pack we've got Cian Healy, Dan Sheehan, Ty Furlong in the front row. Second row, Big Jason Jenkins along with Big James Ryan, and the back row, Max Deegan, Scott Penny, and Kylan Doris.
Yeah, delighted for Deegan, delighted for Doris. I didn't hear Van der Fleer's injured, is he?
I think it was just a bit of a doubt. I think during the week, so they're going to leave. Probably
Grand stuff. We're getting him cloned actually at the moment, but no, like you look at the shift D and put in the Emerging Ireland tour, it's fantastic. I think Doris he's value for me. He's worth twice the price of admission all the way through. Scott Penny obviously is there as well, but putting some minutes into Healy's boots. I don't know what age is he now, 143, still going strong. Sheehan, as we said, always has to be on the pitch. Furlong, I actually think there's not pressure on Furlong, but the season he had 2 seasons ago, I think people are starting to think about that, especially last year where injuries and things like that didn't quite go so well. And there was comments he made during the week about seeing Munster jerseys in his kids' school, things like that. He's starting to think outwardly more aggressively, which I love to see, obviously with the skill he's got. So I think he's gonna put in a big shift now. I think, not that there's pressure on him, but I think there's a bit of self-imposed pressure on Furlong. And I think he's going to respond really well to that.
Yeah, and in the back row, I mean, I think our ideal back row is Doris at 6, Van der Fleer at 7, and Conan at 8. But then you still look at this line. You see Conan's still going to be involved. Doris can do well at 8, and Keegan and Penny have been scoring tries for fun in this league for the past couple of years. It's just it's always an interesting prospect, whatever back row we put out there. But it's a great lineup, and of course JJ going against Munster. It's the matchup we've all been waiting for, and we'll see how that goes. And he's got another South African facing him across the way as well, so there's going to be some interesting matchups and some interesting maybe some interesting confrontations, shall we say, ruck or scrum or maul or whatever's going on. We'll see how that goes. Right, on to the Leinster bench now, and that's McKee, Porter, Alatoa, Maloney and Conan, the forwards, and Nick McCarthy, Ross Byrne and Rob Russell, the backs.
Yeah, it's an interesting back selection. Ross Byrne obviously safe as houses, put the winter heating budget on him. But you got Rob Russell, who's been in there this season, and you've got Nick McCarthy as well. Again, this is a big game. They're going to get game time. There's going to be a lot of pressure on these guys, and then it's going to pay dividends all the way through. So just to go back to Jenkins there a wee bit, I think he will be targeted. Weirdly, you're going to target the biggest monster on the pitch, but I do feel they're going to try and wind them up. I think that's part of what Munster have, and I think when these guys come on, I would assume you want to get as many minutes into them as you can. So let's say 55 minutes, you start making changes. I think you're going to see, Conan will come on, and I think you'll bring on Mick McCarthy, someone like that, and see how they get on with a decent 20 minutes against a team who are absolutely aiming for them. So it's a very smart bench.
Yep. I mean, it was interesting because when you see Frawley at fullback, you think maybe they're doing something like they do with Carberry, like intend to move him over to 10 at some point because, they thought they wanted to get him game time at 10. But then you see Ross Byrne on the bench and say, well, they're not going to do that. So if everything goes to plan, we'll see how they use, if they use Ross Byrne. They may want to limit Johnny's game time. I mean, ideally, you'd want the game wrapped up by that part of the match, but you don't know. But it does look like they're trying something here. They're not just looking to win the match, put out a really good team, but they're trying a couple of combinations, and we'll see how that goes. Right. So now we move on to our opposition, and that would be the boys from Munster. And Munster season didn't get off to a great start, but they had a decent win last weekend against last season's beaten finalists, the Bulls, in their first match at Thomond Park. During the week, I talked to Caolan Scully about their chances, and he was, shall we say, realistic in his expectations. How do you see them going?
I keep trying not to start fights with Munster supporters, and it keeps happening. Look, it's there's things that Munster have to be beyond perfect. They have to get under Leinster's skin. That's why I think winding up Jenkins might be something they're going to try and do. If you had to pick one team out of the two starting squads, there's not that many in red that would get the start. I know they've injuries, and I understand that, but it's just, the gap between Munster and Leinster has gotten bigger over the last 7 years, and they're going to try and be aggressive. They're going to try and wind up everybody. Skill for skill, they don't have it. Play for play, they don't have it. Player for player, they don't have it. And that's, you know what I mean? I'm wearing blue. It is what it is. You look at, there's the Murray and Carberry they're picking. Last week they had Carberry at 15. We have Frawley at 15, Keenan at 15. Like, in terms of the big jersey, who's doing what? That's another day's conversation. But I think you've got someone like Casey who they need a quick start. He's a quick passer, very impressive when he's got a bit of space. I would start with that guy. Try and change things up. Now is the time for change. they've bought themselves a bit of time with a new coach, a new setup, and it's going to be the same old thing. And I do think, I mean, Jean Klein, Klein's not up to it, with all due respect. If he's watching, which I'm sure he is, love you, fair play, but skill for skill, it's not there. They should have tried to change things up and kind of not taken a bath on this game, but shown that they're thinking down the line. I know there's certain players there who are for future, but I think you look at their 10, you look at their 9. I would have started another way, but I pay for my jerseys. They're given the jerseys, so that's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about Leinster on pods and stuff, or Munster on pods and stuff here, we tend to go back to that Wasps game last year where they tried they threw out some young players and stuff, and we think just being honest and sincere, it's like it's better for them to go that way. We did that ourselves just after Leo took over, and we're kind of reaping the benefits now. And it's not like they're short of players. You got Gavin Coombs, coming up, and this guy Jack Crowley did really well in the Emerging Ireland tour. That guy Adogbo, who's I know he's injured and stuff, but they've a lot of players coming through that are showing promise. Crowley going back to 15. I was wondering, I thought they might do it the other way around. Maybe try Crowley at 10, try something new and put Carberry at 15. But again, there could be a bit of November in these selections. They want Crowley, they want Carberry getting some time. Playing 10 before those internationals come along. You don't know, but it's an interesting enough selection. But I just see, especially in the pack, I just see, like you say yourself, you picked a team out of these two selections, they would be mostly blue no matter what your goggles were.
100%. And it's, you know what I mean? Again, we keep having to say it because people don't listen to this fully. Tomorrow we will take pleasure in it, but in general we don't take pleasure in it. Like there's a huge amount that needs to change in that red jersey, and I just think, okay, one win so far this season doesn't fix everything. There was a lot that needed changing from last week to compete this week, and they haven't shown that they're able to do it. I just think that they're going to get beaten up front. I just think our second row, that's our semi-final, final second row in blue right there. I don't think they have the gas to keep up with them. And I think you look at the back three, even though they're slightly inexperienced in blue, there's enough skill, there's enough talent, there's enough relative experience to do a job. Munster will aim at them, they'll kick to them, but as you say, we've got a big boot to clear the ball, much like when Lowe is in there. Now, very different player than James Lowe, but they have that boot to clear the ball. And I think Munster have to be perfect. And they haven't been perfect I had hair the last time they were perfect.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. They just need they don't need they don't just need to be perfect at, but like you said about someone like Jenkins, they need a bit of shithousery early on. I think they need to get under our skin, get in our heads, and so it's one way to knock us off our game. And to be honest, nobody's really tried it yet, and we've gotten off to good starts in all our games so far. So I think that's going to be their key to just try to knock us off of the rhythm, try to stay in the game after about half an hour. And if they do, the match can progress from there. Okay, so now we're going to move on and quick look at the officials. Andrew Bryce has the whistle. The only thing we'd wonder about this guy Marius Jonker hasn't been our friend in the past. He's in the TMO box. Hopefully that won't play a factor. One extra thing we're doing this week is we're just have a quick look at the weather forecast. The weather for Dublin on Saturday is supposed to be partly sunny. We've had some crazy weather in Dublin this week, thunder and lightning and all that crack. But it is supposed to be nice, as you can see there. Partly sunny, 15 degrees. 7% chance of rain, slight winds headed towards the south stand. So that's what they're expecting there. Which brings us now to head on the block time. It's our predictions. We'll quickly go through these, starting with, of course, the main match, Leinster v Munster. What do you say?
There's a big score in this. I think it's more than 15. I just don't think there's enough. I think if they start with someone like Casey, they do what you just said. They stay in the game, they move quick, and they can find their way in. But with the same old, it's just going to be a trampling. I think it's more than 15.
Yeah, the bookies are actually saying 17. I was surprised. I thought they might go a little more conservative than that, but it must be how the markets are doing. I am going to go a bit more inside that. I'm going to try to keep it closer. I'll say Leinster by 12. Right, we're going to leave it there, man. Many thanks to Keego for joining me today. Be sure to enjoy the match wherever you are. And at the full-time whistle, head to the Harpin Rugby Facebook page and leave your thoughts. We'll share them in our wrap-up pod this Sunday evening, where we'll have Keego back as well. All going well. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.
Cheers, guys. See you in the East Stand.